Over to you, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. I like Teresa to challenge me on some of the things I want to say because she's involved with the UNCITRAL and a practicing lawyer and professor on the subject. I actually would like to talk about very briefly about the dispute resolutions that's relevant to what we're talking about in this summit. I've heard the talk of the Council of the UNCITRAL, and I think that if someone followed what UNCITRAL has done to the dispute resolution worldwide, they'll appreciate how much actually they helped the world, the universe, in introducing and stabilizing the dispute resolution across border, whether that's relating to the New York Conventions, the model laws, the model rules. And if you look around us all over the world, you'll find the entire universe, those who actually actively participate in the UNCITRAL or those who don't participate have actually used the UNCITRAL drafts and model laws. And they have done a huge favor in stabilizing and enhancing. If you ask me about arbitration 30 years ago or 40 years ago, it was hated by many countries, by the judicial system, rarely used, and no one actually recognized them. As a result of the model laws and rules and the development of institution works very closely with the UNCITRAL. Today, arbitration is the favorite dispute resolution, even for the courts. And that's how basically has been a huge flip. Coming to the e-commerce, and I think there is two issues I want to touch upon. And I think Anna has mentioned that we were going to talking about the private law and what UNCITRAL is really looking to contribute on the private law and the trade between persons. But when it comes to dispute resolution, people have in mind two things. From the wonderful presentation we just heard just now, I can understand the B2B, where basically dispute resolutions could have people goes to electronic arbitration or electronic dispute resolution or mediation, and the UNCITRAL trying to introduce ideas, and they've been working even since 2010 on this subject. But when it comes to consumer, the issue is different. You cannot just send someone who bought a camera to arbitration or go to a dispute resolution. So there has to be some regulatory issues from the government, whether you like it or not. So the protection of consumer is a concern of the universe, concern of the European Union, concern of Africa, concern of Asia, concern, and it's because of the small amount of money involved, the personal item for individuals, to get them even on electronic dispute resolution or electronic mediation, it will not work, at least in this environment. So my first statement I'm going to make about the fact that there has to be, whether we like it or not, and most of the people who's in private sector do not like the government to be involved in dictating rules on e-commerce, on electronic trade, on electronic assets. But the true fact of the matter, because there may be a misuse of the information or a breach of data, and these are huge. I've been reading some of the notes of the UNCITRAL, and one of the top issues that comes over and over and over is the protection of data and confidentiality. It's an issue that basically worries them. And another subject is security. You know, with regards to today with the technology, any intelligent, smart inventor who will invent a system for the dispute resolutions system, you'll find another smart intelligence who can basically break that system and hack it. And that's a big challenge today when it comes to electronic. Coming back to what's happening, in my opinion, today in the dispute resolution world. there is a number of moves around the world, including the UNCITRAL, in trying to get mediation done electronically and dispute resolution done electronically. Similar to the court system, there's some court system now trying to examine using AI to decide on small disputes, whether eviction of lease, on traffic disputes, so it's happening. And in my opinion, it's going to happen definitely more and more in the future where you find use of it. But today, with regards to dispute resolution in particular, when it comes to e-commerce, electronic data, and mediation, we are not there yet. And I have a view on why we are not there yet, and that's my personal view. One, because the issue is evolving too fast. So the legal professionals are running behind the technology and what it's basically to sign off on a document that's going to basically evolve and change. I said they started in 2010. We did not know AI in 2010. So things are emerging within the technology field that makes creating a dispute resolutions mechanism or a mediation mechanism today and signing off today is challenged. Besides what I've just talked about, the confidentiality and the breach of data and so on. And if you look at today, in my opinion, very little progress has happened in use of technology in dispute resolution. And I tell you why. If you look at all the arbitration institutions around the world, whether ICC, LCIA, DIAC, SIAC, AAA in New York, they have basically supported the document management systems, how to manage the cases, but none of them has jumped into the dispute resolution field. None of them. And I have a view of this for two reasons. One, because they're scared. Two, and I'm going to be a little bit blunt about it, the people who's running the show is the old generation. We need people who wired differently. You need to put the people who basically created AI and the people who basically innovated the new generation into the front seat. And this is not happening in the dispute resolution world worldwide. I don't know about the UNCITRAL and maybe Anna and Teresa, and that's why when I started my talk, I said I want Teresa to challenge me on this, because unless you put those new generation who's slightly wired differently than me in their brain, you're not going to be able to make that jump. And that's aggressive jump into this. So my view today, when it comes to the dispute resolutions mechanism, including UNCITRAL, and I'm sorry Anna to say this, it's all ideas. And among the ideas, there's people across the table who's trying to scare you from horror stories. Don't do this because this is going to happen. Don't jump into this because you're going to breach the data. Don't do this because you're going to be hacked. Don't do this. I always give example to people who are trying to make these horror stories when it comes to use of electronics on different. I said, if you can transfer $100 million on a push of a button through the banking system, then you can take a risk on everything else.
Well,
thank you.
I think we've heard the challenge, Teresa. So maybe it's a good time to